This is the session we are talking about youth and well-being. So when I was doing my prepping for this session, I also did my research on what well-being means. And I found out for the first time, we've been saying well-being for all our lives, but do we really know the meaning of it? And I found out that it's the state of being comfortable, healthy, and happy. And I'm glad we're having this conversation and relating it to the youth in Kenya. And this conversation is very timely. And we all know why it is timely, because the youth are now there's a lot of awareness in so many aspects and in broader perspectives. So I'm going to ask every panelist, what would you describe as the current situation in regards to mental health, probably on a broader perspective, the well-being of the youth currently?
At the moment, I find it's in chaos. Chaos in that everyone is searching themselves, yeah? And there is also the community aspect of it. To some, they don't understand why we have demonstrations, yeah? It's like ikawaida, yeah? And to some, we really need it. So I find it's in chaos. And it's important for us to just have some moment and think about how to go about the chaos. Just find a moment of overcoming that, yeah? And that means, like right now, guys, when they are at home and they are thinking about the next maandamano, there's so much that should be in place, like, am I stable for this, yeah? Am I ready? Some are saying, I'm ready to die. Yeah, how am I going to put myself out there, fight for my country, fight for myself, and also fight for the future generation? So I find it in chaos, and there's really need to come in ways to unravel that for our well-being.
It's very disheartening, and this is the culmination of what has been building up. You see, the issue about mental health, when you see the outcome, it has been a process of building up. And the reactions that you're seeing among the young people, this is a generation that is fed up. We are tired, we are heartbroken. It is so disappointing to finish school and you stay for years without getting a job. And like, I'll give a case example. When I graduated from the university in 2021. And in 2019, I was looking for an attachment. I applied in 20 organizations and none of them responded. An attachment. And, you meet with young people who are disillusioned. Most of them, they're just like, there is no hope. And that's why we are in this state. And we are saying we need change. And I think we really need to continuously preach hope to this generation. As I also finished, this is also, if you're talking about intergenerational healing and restoration, we should also be cognizant of intergenerational brokenness. Many of this generation, and I say this as a case example, is underparented and misparented. Most of us young people, we come from broken homes, and when you come and meet a broken nation, it is disappointing. And one of the things we need to have an intergenerational dialogue with our parents. You see, according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, 38% of our generation is parented by a single parent. That is a disappointing reality. And therefore, what we are seeing is just the symptoms. These are symptoms of an inner world that is in pieces.
We've recently seen young people really rise and be vocal about the change they want to see in the country, being vocal about wanting good governance, accountability, wanting systems in the government working on their behalf, and wanting policies that do not work on their behalf to be scrapped off. We've seen young people being interviewed on television saying, in the protests, saying that I'm protesting because I've struggled with depression. I cleared university 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and I've never gotten a job. I'm so hopeless. And that's the story of so many young people. And we are seeing unity among young people in demanding for the things I had mentioned before. Do you think that this is a passing wind, a passing wave, and in the foreseeable future, young people or even Kenyans holistically will go back to default settings?
As an individual who've honed the value-based leadership skills from Emerging Leaders Foundation, one of the mantras is active leadership. And we cannot just sit down and see people doing things the way they want, yet they have a role to play. So I don't think this is something that will stop, considering that we've embraced the kusalimiwa thing, yeah? So leaders will be on toes. They've never seen this wave coming. So if they don't work, then tutazidi kuwasalimia. And that's what we should embrace, yeah? Let's see you doing work for us, for the community, for the people. Because, you know, we are saying we are change makers, but are you the change yourself? So, tuendele.
From the past generations, every mandamano or protest, there was supposed to be a public figure, a political figure. We had Baba and Kalonzo on the side, and a few other, comrades, and going to the streets. This time, it is the young people themselves. It is us. In a few years from now, it's going to be very difficult to be a politician in this country. Even to be a public servant. We are going to scrutinize you. We are starting how you treat your wife at home, and how you raise your children. If you don't pass that test, we have no business with you. Because if really we are serious about this, and this is actually a moment for all civil society organizations. If we can continuously train young people, awaken and sustain that civic consciousness that has been that is now live and well right now, we can actually make sure that young people in 2027, every one of us has a voter's card, and we're going to cast our vote. And right now, we need to be in every space and making sure that our voices is actually also appreciated.
Do you think educational institutions from the low level, from the nursery pre-unit level, do you think there is a balance between academic excellence and well-being?
Like 10% of private schools have adopted an education system that embraces well-being. But the kids in public schools have a challenge because sometimes they're just there because they have to. But now, taking my point at the private sector, I feel that like through Smartimi, beyond just teaching, there's an approach of helping kids have their moment, just play, because it's just a way of helping them just have their moment, play around, embrace something extraordinary just beyond the teaching. So I believe that private schools that have engaged creative arts from a deep perspective have managed to embrace well-being compared to the public schools, because they are, the numbers are just over the norm, and teachers cannot even bear the number of the students in a class. So we really have a lot to do. They have not really understood how art as an intervention of well-being is very critical, and it's very simple as long as you know how to engage it in a wider perspective, mostly in the education system, because that is where we are molding children to be future leaders.
I'm currently at the tail end of just finishing up my master's, and for the past 2 years, it's the same thing. Sometimes I'm like, I did even better when I was doing my undergraduate, because the systems, the lecturers comes tired, they come and they just give lectures. So if you don't have the spirit of resilience and looking for opportunity by yourself and awakening your ability to imagine a possible world within yourself as an individual, this education system cannot really reward you with anything.
Growing up in the past was way different, because kids used to go out, play with the mud, bano, there were all these games, interacting with other kids. But now people are saying we're in the digital age, where children are growing up in the house with an iPad. What is the correlation? How does that directly affect their well-being in the future?
One thing about child development, it makes these kids antisocial because they're just so much into their gadgets. And it really affects how they interact with others or even build relationships with other people outside their space. Yeah, you'll find that they don't know how to express themselves because they express it on the gadgets. Yeah, for instance, you'll see when they are doing their gaming, yeah, and they are so much in anger because this opponent has just defeated them. So they're like, you're pressing the gadget too much. That is how they're expressing their anger, yeah. And it's important for them to understand that you need to talk. Talk is really healthy. And if they don't know that, then it's really gonna be hectic. So, when they come to the studio, sometimes they try to talk me in to give me my phone. Can you just give me this, we do this kind of game, or we put this YouTube song so that we can just jam along? And I'm like, no, when you're here, no gadgets. You need to paint, you need to draw, or you need to just do whatever we've planned for the day. But sometimes they manage and they just come in with funny tunes, and I'm also learning along. But I always encourage them, you need to know your world beyond the digital space.
Mr. Eugene, you talked about how dysfunctional families are in Kenya, and you also mentioned how the relationship between kids and parents, they are not good. Now we are relating it to now their well-being and mental health. What do you have to say about how significant the role of family is to the well-being of the youth?
I got some time to just chill out with my grandparents, and those evenings were so sacred. They used to teach us values. They teach you to be a man. They teach you how to approach a girl. My grandfather used to teach me how to be, he taught me how to be an entrepreneur. I started selling and he used to send me with avocados and bananas to the market, and I sell and stuff and my entrepreneurial spirit right now has that heritage. And to relate that with our generation and our parents need to come back and they need to come back to themselves, by the way, and restore the broken relationship between them and their children. Before we are human doings, we are human beings. And we have to just make sure that being and that nature of having conversations, with our parents, and even just making a commitment to calling your dad. Just to finish up, sorry, I'm taking a long time. I met my biological father when I was 21 years old. I grew up with a stepfather who made our life difficult. When I was 15 years old, my stepfather took a panga, it's called machete, and he hacked my mom on the head, on the left hand, and on the right foot. As a young man, I grew up with a broken self-esteem. I hated myself. At the age of 15, I took a rope and I wanted to hang myself at the back of our own home. And that is the kind of an environment I grew up in. Now, when I started doing a lot of mentorship and work with young people, that is the same thing that is happening. Someone is coming to tell me, I've never seen my dad, I've never seen my mom, I'm battling with suicide and all that. And that's actually how I wrote this book. Because most of us, we are battling with the pressure of being gifted. And you see, when someone commits suicide, you saw that young man who committed suicide at the veranda of their own home. That is a painful reality. It's a painful reality, and it talks a lot about how our family structures are actually established. Yeah.